Hey, welcome. So we live in a world that is just overflowing with information, right? So how do we find the real story in all that noise? How do we turn a giant mess of numbers into clear, confident answers? Well, today we're diving into exactly that, the powerful process of quantitative data analysis. Let's figure out how to make sense of it all.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? Whether you're running a business, doing some research, or honestly just trying to figure out the world around you, you are constantly making choices. And obviously, the best choices are the informed ones. But where do you even begin?
Because without some kind of structured way to look at all this information, you might as well be, well, this guy. Look, trying to use a computer mouse to open a physical window seems totally absurd, but it's actually a perfect metaphor for acting on gut feelings alone when you have a whole world of data sitting right there. There has to be a better way, right?
Okay, so before we can build anything really meaningful, we have to understand our raw materials. And for us, that material is data. So our first stop on this journey is getting to know it. The good, the bad, and yeah, even the dirty. So what even is data, really? At its heart, it's just collective information. Think about your favorite coffee shop. Data is everything. It's the number of oat milk lattes they sell every morning. It's the comments you leave on their Instagram. It's the path you click through on their website. It's all the little pieces we gather up to paint a bigger picture of what's actually going on. And data really comes in two main flavors. On one side, you've got qualitative data. This stuff deals with concepts, with descriptions. Think notes from a focus group. It helps us understand the why behind things. But on the other side, you've got quantitative data, and that is all about the numbers, things you can count, like survey results or poll numbers. And that's going to be our focus today. But here's where the plot thickens a little bit. Just because you have a mountain of data doesn't automatically mean you have a mountain of treasure. Sometimes what you really have is a mountain of junk. And that brings us to the villain of our story, dirty data. This is any information that's flawed in some way. It could be incomplete, it could be flat out wrong, or maybe it's just totally irrelevant to the question you're trying to solve. This is the kind of stuff that can lead you to completely wrong conclusions if you're not super careful. So, to get to the treasure, you gotta know your enemy. And here are the 5 usual suspects when it comes to dirty data. First up, you've got duplicates, like a customer showing up twice in your system. Then there's outdated info, like an old address. You've got incomplete records with missing phone numbers, incorrect data from simple typos, and inconsistent entries, like having New York in one row and just NY in another. Cleaning this mess up, that is always step 1. So how do we fight back against this chaos of dirty data and actually find the answers we're looking for? Well, we need a plan. We need a map. Let's walk through the 6-step process that basically takes us from a confusing mystery all the way to the final reveal. And here it is. This is our playbook. It all kicks off with asking the right question. From there, we prepare our data. That means gathering it and cleaning it up. Then we process it, getting it into a format we can actually use. After that comes the real heart of the discovery. We analyze it, sifting through all the numbers to find those hidden patterns, those aha moments. And finally, we share our findings. And this is key, we act on what we've learned. It's a complete journey from question to action. And it's really important to remember, this process isn't just about ticking off boxes on a checklist. It's a journey of transformation. You're taking this messy, raw information and you're methodically turning it into something clean, clear, and super powerful, an insight that can drive a real-world decision. Now, let's zoom in on a really powerful tool we use back in that prepare phase. See, you don't always need to analyze all the data to understand the big picture. Sometimes just a small taste is enough to know the truth. This is the incredible power of sampling. The whole idea is actually pretty simple, but it is so powerful. Instead of trying to survey every single person in a huge population, which, let's be honest, is often impossible, we study a smaller representative group. This carefully chosen sample can tell us a surprisingly accurate story about the entire group. So why would we do this? Well, for one, it saves a ton of time and money. But here's the real kicker. A well-done sample can sometimes be even more accurate than trying to survey everyone, because it cuts down on the chances of making mistakes that just naturally come with huge operations. You know the saying, you don't need to drink the whole pot of soup to know if it needs more salt. But how you choose that sample is absolutely critical. With probability sampling, everyone in the group has an equal, random chance of being picked, kind of like drawing names out of a hat.
This is the gold standard because it lets you apply your findings to the whole group. Then there's non-probability sampling, where the selection isn't random, like just surveying people who happen to be at the mall. It's usually easier, but you have to be really careful about saying your results apply to everyone.
Okay, so we've asked our question, we've prepared and cleaned up our data, and we've analyzed it. Now for what might be the most important part of this whole thing, the big reveal. This is where your numbers finally become a narrative. So let's talk about the final two steps. Share is not just about emailing a spreadsheet. No way. It's about data storytelling, using great visuals to communicate your findings in a way that's compelling and that people can actually understand. And then act? I mean, that's the whole reason we started this thing. This is where you take your hard-won insights and use them to solve problems and make smarter decisions. All right, let's zoom out for a second. Why have we walked through all of this? Why does this whole structured process matter so much? It matters because it is a reliable path that takes you out of the fog of uncertainty and into the clarity of real, tangible insight. You know, this quote from our source material really just nails it. The goal here isn't to turn you into a human calculator. The intent is to empower you with a method to explore, to analyze, and to truly understand data on a much deeper level. Ultimately, data analysis isn't just about math. It's a framework for thinking. It is a repeatable, reliable process that anybody can learn to use to turn the chaos of information into the clarity of a data-driven answer. And that just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Now that you have the map, right, from asking the right question all the way to acting on the answer, think about your own world, your work, your hobbies, your curiosities. What question would you answer with data?